So I think a lot of churches think that, well, nothing like that will ever happen here. This is a quiet town. This is a safe part of town. We're just a church. Who would want to do this? But we find out that there's a lot of violent incidences that happen at churches. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first thing I would say about that is a quiet church. We'll probably talk about Sutherland Springs more whenever we go into the domestic violence series. But over these 22 years, overall, we've had 2,361 deadly force incidents at faith-based organizations. Of those, there's 624 that resulted in murder, and a lot of those, there were multiple murders. So we have 1,047 victims at faith-based organizations in 22 years. And then we have, in 17 mass murders, there were 124 lives taken. So that's 17 incidences that took 124 lives at faith-based organizations.
Well, and those are the ones that everybody thinks about, right? Because they're these huge, headline-grabbing things. But over 900 other people have been killed on church property. In essence.
Yeah.
So that's a whole lot of room for churches to improve in adding to the safety of their spaces.
Absolutely. It might not make national news, but it's going to impact that church and so many people within it.
As we're talking about the deadly force incident study of the Faith-Based Security Network, we're talking about the different triggers that cause these incidents. And Shanna, I think most of the time we start thinking about, crazy people who just have hate in their hearts for a particular denomination or a particular religion, and that's what motivates the attacks. But there's a broad variety of triggers with our defensive force study. Is that correct?
That's true. There is a huge misconception of the attack triggers. So number one, and I know we've talked about this before, but is robbery when we're talking about overall deadly force incident attack triggers. If we're talking about mass murder, a lot of people don't even realize that there has been 17 mass murders at faith-based organizations. But out of those, bias incidents are number one. Robbery is number one for overall DFIs. But the number two for both mass murder or our overall DFIs is domestic violence.
And domestic violence is one that I got a lot of friends who are cops, and they'll tell you that that's the most dangerous time to be a cop when you're responding to a domestic violence incident. And whether we like it or not, broken people come to our churches, which is a good thing. But sometimes that brokenness follows them into the church. And so those domestic violence issues that they deal with at home sometimes follow them to church as well. So what can we learn from domestic violence being a prominent trigger at church violence?
The biggest thing I can encourage for this is communication. So a lot of times these domestic violence issues that become spillover at a faith-based organization, pastors, counselors, leadership within the church know about the issues that are going on, and they don't necessarily get them relayed to the security team, and there might not be a good relationship there. So whatever you can do to have that open communication and build that trust with the church staff is excellent and can save lives.